I'm going to share with you the different buffs I encountered in my playthroughs that are currently available in Fields of Mistria Early Access. If you're not familiar, buffs are positive status effects that your character can get to boost certain aspects of the game. In Fields of Mistria, there are infusions to specific items that will give you certain buffs when used or consumed. But to make it simple, we'll use it synonymously in this video. Some of the infusions can actually be acquired or triggered really early on in the game. However, I didn't pay it any mind because I was too busy doing the main story quests. In an earlier video, we shared a few things we thought you should avoid so that you won't have to go through the same mistakes I did. And I would like to add to that, and that is not to dismiss the power of a status effect or infusions. In this video, we'll not only go through what the different available buffs are and how to get them, but also my top 5 buffs and show you why I think you should use them. As an example, for me, some of these buffs help me gain traction on my tasks and do more within the day. Just a gentle reminder that the game is in early access and the game will have a lot more updates and balancing to come. And this is the current version I have tried these. So grab your snacks and get comfy. First up, let's go over the infusions we can learn from the cooking skill perks. Just at tier 1, you can already learn restorative cooking, which lets you cook dishes that occasionally have the restorative infusion. This means that when you consume a dish with this infusion, it will give you HP and stamina regeneration ability for a certain period. And I didn't put much thought into this early in the game because I initially find cooking a hassle. But if I had given this a chance and tried it earlier, it would have saved me a lot of time. The daily free stamina from the inn and the fountains across Mistria are all well and good, but they only store 20 stamina, 40 if you upgrade the inn, but the time to go there from your farm is a hassle. I feel that it shouldn't be your go-to for restoring your stamina, but just as a bonus if you're in the area. That's why my first buff that I think you shouldn't overlook is the HP and stamina regen. When you consume a dish with this buff, you will regenerate a small amount of HP and stamina as you go about your day. And this is aside from the actual HP and stamina that you'll recover from the dish. Its use is pretty apparent in the mines, especially for those who are textures in battle like me, to make sure I don't run out of HP and stamina. That said, I'm a farmer at heart. A virtual farmer. So I mainly trigger this buff when I'm watering my fields. I do think that it's an amazing early game buff, especially if you can only cook the basics which only restore quite a small amount. And it saves me time from trying to eat multiple dishes. Moving on to tier 2, we got to learn likable cooking, letting us cook a dish that will occasionally turn the item into a universally liked gift. This is especially useful for villagers who have expensive tastes or those who have seasonal liked gifts. We covered every villager's easy early gifts in a separate video. We'll share the link below. And let's just say some gifts may require more effort to get. But with dishes infused with this buff, you will no longer have to craft recipes with multiple ingredients or wait for the correct season or for it to be available at Balor's shop. That's why the second buff that I think you shouldn't overlook is this universally liked buff. Not only will it lessen the load on you remembering each and everyone's liked gift, but also lessen the load on your inventory. Getting the second expansion of your inventory takes a while, and even then, I sometimes find myself out of space from time to time. One thing worth mentioning is that there's also a universally loved gift infusion, but I've only encountered this during the Spring Festival, where you can also buy universally liked gifts. It's not as expensive, however, it's not exactly something you can buy in bulk, especially in your early days. That's why I still recommend obtaining it via cooking. But if you're already in year 2 or looking for ways to burn money, then by all means. Up next is tier 3 of cooking, where we can get speed cooking. This lets you cook a dish that occasionally results in a bonus speedy infusion, which grants you a speed boost buff when consumed. This is another buff that I think you should consider early on. Just a gentle reminder that to unlock tier 3, you would need that specific skill to be at level 30. And that would just take too much time in gathering ingredients and learning recipes, at least for me. So I recommend just buying coffee at Darcy's shop during the Saturday market. You will see here that any drink with a coffee base will have a speedy infusion. It's pretty cheap in my opinion for that short burst in walking speed. But does this speed boost actually give a decent boost? By itself, honestly not so much. On its own, it does have a discernible speed boost. That said, if you pair it with the right items, which we'll talk about later, you might actually see a notable difference. Then we have the infusion from woodcrafting skill. At tier 2, you can get a skill that lets you craft items that occasionally result in a quality infusion, which grants it a 10% higher selling price. Earning money in this game is actually pretty easy, so in my gameplay, I didn't find the need for this. I did find it a hassle that every time I'm making fences or roads, I need to have 2 available slots in my inventory. one for the normal ones and another for the infused item. But everyone has a different gameplay. You could be someone who enjoys chopping wood or just getting materials in general and likes an additional boost in income. Or your goal is to get a million by the end of year 2 just because you can. I'm not a speedrunner, so I'm not sure if that amount is short or not, but my point is whether this buff is amazing or not is up to each and everyone's unique gameplay. As for me, it's not something I would encourage getting early on if your focus is on the main story, since you would need a lot of materials. Next up are the infusions from blacksmithing. At tier 1, you can get a chance to infuse weapons with sharp infusion, which grants it an additional +1 attack power, and armor with fortified infusion, which grants you an additional +4 HP when worn. Both of these are fairly straightforward and help out at the mines if you find slaying monsters a tad bit difficult. Then at tier 2, you can smith weapons that occasionally have the leech infusion, which restores 1 HP each time it's used to attack a monster. It's important to note that you can only have 1 infusion per item, so there won't be a weapon with both sharp and leech infusion. You'd have to choose. If you're good at avoiding attacks, I would suggest just going for sharp infusion, since it will help in finishing off the monster much quicker. I always have a meal with me whenever I go to the mines, so that also counts for restoring my health. Another skill you can learn at tier 2 is the lightweight blacksmithing, where crafting a tool will occasionally result in a bonus lightweight infusion, occasionally dropping stamina orbs on use. Anything that gives out stamina is always a good thing in my book. You can actually get a free lightweight copper hoe from March when you befriend him and trigger his first event at 2 hearts. As someone who likes farming and decorating my farm, this lightweight buff is a no-brainer. It not only helps me finish watering my crops earlier, but it also lets me decorate my farm more in a day, if that makes sense. I guess it depends on how you want to decorate your farm, if you'll ever use your tools. I change my mind all the time, so it at least helps me with my gameplay. Gaining back stamina orbs when you chop trees or smash rocks also helps out early in the game when you're still gathering materials for the main story quests. I'm not sure if it's a balancing thing, but in this current version of the early access, the blacksmithing skill is one of the easier skills to level up, so I find my level pretty high early in the game. So try your best in getting to tier 2 as early as you can. Then moving on to tier 3, you can learn hasty blacksmithing, where you'll get to craft armor that will occasionally result in a bonus hasty infusion, which grants you an additional 4% speed boost when worn. Similar to the weapons, you can only have 1 infusion per armor, so each helmet, armor, leg plates, greaves, and ring can get either hasty or fortified, but not both. I would recommend getting hasty infusion with its 4% speed boost from each equipment. Unfortunately, we cannot yet adjust the length of day as of the current version, so the constant walking to and from each area in the game is a constant challenge, at least for me. So having these speed boosts is a great help, not just in getting through the town, or foraging and digging around Mistria, but also in avoiding and running around monsters in the mines. Remember the cooking speedy infusion we mentioned earlier? Consume that coffee or any meal with that infusion, and it will add to your overall speed. Happy running around town! Let me show you a quick comparison between a fully equipped hasty infusion plus a meal with speedy infusion and the regular speed. The difference isn't as overwhelming, but this couple of minutes saved piles on and maybe even saves you whenever you're in a pickle. I do want to mention though that getting the occasional infusion is pretty random and requires a lot of tries, at least in my playthrough. What I do is to gather a lot of ingredients and ingots ahead of time, save, then craft around 4 pieces at a time. And if you don't get the infusions you want, you can always reload. An easy recipe for the meal infusions are those with only 1 ingredient, like sliced turnips or baked potatoes. These are available in spring and can also help you increase your cooking skill. As for crafting tools and weapons, I usually just buy the ingots from Balor's shop since I try to bulk craft, and my runs in the mines don't cut it. My 5 recommended buffs or infusions are just what I find useful in my type of gameplay, and yours could be different. What I like in playing games like these is that there's no right or wrong way to play. So let me know which ones you think will fit your gaming style, or if you have any tips that you think might just be better in the comments below. And if you haven't seen it already, we discussed easy early game gifts and beginner mistakes you can avoid in Fields of Mistria on this channel. So if you're looking for tips on making your gameplay a little easier, definitely check this out. Stay awesome, gamers!